Hey everybody, Joe here. Today we're gonna pot up a couple of things. I am well overdue for getting all the things that I have purchased the last several weeks at Home Depot and Lowe's potted up. So we're gonna tackle some of that today. One of my projects is planting some Moroccan mounds that I just recently purchased. I have three of them. I'm gonna put them in a big terracotta pot. Now, one unique thing about the Moroccan mound is if you think about a jalapeno pepper on the Scoville scale, it registers 5,000, whereas the Moroccan mound registers 16 billion. So it is the hottest from a taste bud perspective. So, one, do not ingest any of the sap, it would not end well. You can Google it. Uh, you probably, unless you're in an area like Arizona, Nevada, California, you're probably not going to see Moroccan mounds. So depending on where you live, you won't have to worry about it. And even where you live, you don't have to worry about it as long as you don't adjust it. So I will probably wear gloves because sometimes when you nick them, the sap can come out, and you definitely wouldn't want to get that in your mouth. So be careful with that. We're also going to plant up some agaves in a very unique planter, which you'll see here in a few minutes, and then a couple other odds and ends. So that's the plan for today. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome you to subscribe. It really helps out my small channel, and always welcome any comments or suggestions. I am in the Tucson area. Tucson is in zone 9A or B, depending on where you live. Kind of actually changes in my neighborhood because of how hilly it is. And today it's going to be 106 degrees, so it's going to be a hot one. That is something I've had to maneuver through the last several weeks. We've had some really hot days. The plants, for the most part, are doing well. The goal when it's above, I'd say 105 degrees, is just to keep things alive. Some things do look a little stressed now. As it cools off, they will rebound. But it has been a very hot summer. We have had a couple of good monsoon rains, but I would not say that this has been a good monsoon season. While we've had some good rains, not compared to what we've had in the past. So it's been very dry, which requires me to water a lot. So it's been a very busy season keeping things watered and hydrated and protected from the sun in some cases. And I'm anxious for it to cool off, but I will enjoy the heat and the sun while we can. Also, Halloween is right around the corner. I have purchased so many new Halloween items. I can't wait for you to see how the yard transforms for Halloween. Probably won't start decorating until late September, early October. Of course, Lowe's and Home Depot have all of their Halloween items out. Costco actually has their Christmas items out, as does Hobby Lobby. So I guess it's that time of the year, but it seems like it gets earlier every year. At any rate, let's jump in. I think we'll start with the Moroccan mounds, and then we'll go from there. So here's my Moroccan mounds. I have three of them, and my plan is to put them in a terracotta pot. Now, I did pick up these from Lowe's several weeks ago. These were $30, and these are cold hardy to 20 degrees, so these hold up pretty well throughout the winter. Now, if it gets super cold, sometimes I do cover these, but they've done pretty well in recent years, so I don't have any concern there. And again, I do plan to wear gloves. Now, just touching these on their own isn't a problem. It's if you break these, they do produce a white sap, and you wouldn't want to get that in your mouth or in your eyes because it is the hottest thing on the planet. So let's get started. So we have one little section of shade here on the driveway that I'm going to take advantage of. So I'm going to drag over my Moroccan mounds, and I'm going to drag over a terracotta pot, and we'll get these planted up. All right, so I've got my Moroccan mounds here nearby. I am going to remove them from these pots. Now, I could have left it in these semi-decorative plastic pots if I wanted. For a period of time, these pots would maybe last a year or so before they'd start to break down. I'm just going to set these aside. I'm actually going to use these pots as my template to get the holes ready for the dirt. Now, I could very easily have just taken one of these Moroccan mounds, set it in the middle, and it would absolutely grow and fill up this entire pot. I kind of wanted something a little bit quicker, so that's why I have the 3. They were a good price at $30 at Lowe's. So I am going to fill up this pot. Now eventually I might have to take them out of this pot altogether and put them in the ground. But for now I'm just going to enjoy them in this terracotta pot. Now as I'm planting these, I want to make sure that I leave enough room so that when I'm watering these, the water doesn't flow over the side of the pot. So I like to keep about an inch below the top of the pot itself. And I am using a mix of cactus, palm, citrus soil. I picked that up at Home Depot. They also have it at Lowe's. It's by Miracle Grow. And then I have just some standard potting soil, so I kind of mix that together. I don't think there's a magic recipe other than because this is more in the cactus succulent family, probably heavier on your cactus soil is wise. And I think that's good. I can just kind of eyeball the next one. Now again, it's the sap that is very hot and you do not want to test fates. Now on my second one here, I have removed some of the soil just so I can get a better fit in my pot. It fits in very nice and snug next to the original one. And again, it's the sap from this plant. I don't see any that has leaked as a result of me maneuvering around the plant. So some folks may ask, why would you have a plant that is so hot and potentially dangerous? You know, it's just like anything else in your house. If you use it as directed, it's not dangerous. So your bug killers, your weed killers, your fertilizers, those are all poisonous if you ingest them and could cause some great harm. No different with a lot of plants. If you ingest them, they could create harm. So if you have a pet that is super curious, probably don't want to have a Moroccan mound in your backyard where your pet is. However, I'll say I have 5 labs and they seem to leave all my plants alone. Desert roses are very toxic. I've never had an issue with the dogs, knock on wood, but you know, you just be careful. So I'm going to go ahead and take my next mound out of its pot. And the sap is pretty easy to spot. It comes out, it's white and it's very sticky. And even if I got some on my hands, as long as I didn't put my hands in my mouth, that would be fine. Now, this is going to be a tight fit, so I'm going to look for the flattest side, and I think probably this side is flattest. And I'm going to have to do some fancy maneuvering to get this in this pot, I think. And there it goes. So there we have it. I do have a Moroccan mound in the backyard that's quite large. I've had it for about 9 years. When I got it, it was probably about the size of one of these. And it has completely consumed its entire pot. And I'd say that it's probably 2 or 3 feet tall. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. And when I bought these plants, one was smaller than the other two, so this one is the smaller one, but it'll catch up. And I do have some dirt kind of mixed in from the repotting process. As soon as I water that, that'll all settle and rinse off, so no concerns there. So this is my new Moroccan mound pot. I think it's turned out nicely. Get an immediate full effect. I don't know exactly where I'm going to put it yet. I need to shop for some real estate in the front yard or the back, but at least I have it potted up. So I'm going to clean up my mess here and then we'll go on to the next project. So for my next project, Aiden picked up some semi-break drums that he was going to use for welding projects. So he creates a lot of yard art for the yard and was going to use these for an upcoming welding project, but every time I walk by these, I see a pot. So this would make a beautiful single pot. If you stack 2 on top of each other, it makes a beautiful double single pot. So I told him that I'm actually going to turn 2 or 3 of these into pots. And my plan is to put an agave in one of these. So these brake drums do have that large hole in the bottom. I could have had Aiden weld something, but that would take a lot of time. So last night we were at Home Depot looking around and they have these lids. It's right on the bottom of that. Kind of leave some of the holes for drainage. I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in the top of this Home Depot cover, and that's what I'm going to use as the bottom of my pot. Now these are very heavy. They weigh about 70 pounds a piece. You could probably pick these up at a salvage yard, but I think they make a really unique rusty pot. And I think an agave is going to look absolutely beautiful in one of these. We're going to give it a shot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my DCK drill that I use in the yard, and I'm going to drill a hole in the top of the top there for additional drainage, and then we'll get started. So you might recall my DCK drill. This is featured on my Amazon storefront. The company actually sent me this at no charge to try, and I reviewed that several videos ago. I use this in the yard all the time. This is my go-to drill for the yard. It has sat out in the sun, the rain, the weather, the elements, and it runs really, really well. So I'm a big fan of it. Again, this is on the Amazon storefront if you want to take a look at it. And I'm just going to drill a hole right through here because as this is sitting in the bottom of the pot, I don't want water to pool up. An agave typically doesn't like to sit in water. And it doesn't have to be pretty, which it's not. So this is the hole. And I'm just going to set that down, and then I'm going to take a rock and put it over the top of that hole just so that the soil doesn't wash out. So I've got my rock in place, and I'm going to take some of my cactus soil and I'm just going to fill up my brake drum pot with a little soil to keep that lid in place. And now I need to decide which agave. I have 2 that I need to plant. Let me grab one. So this is the agave that I'm going to be planting. This is the Striped Smooth Agave Gold Rush, cold hardy to 25 degrees. And again, I purchased this at Lowe's just the other day for $31. And I'm going to plant it right in that brake drum. I do have my agave out of its plastic pot that it came in. And again, I just have enough soil in here to keep that lid in place. Now this agave had a lot of extra dirt around the top, so I'm going to shake some of that off. And I think this is just going to be able to sit right in here. Now again, I want it so that the soil is a little bit below the top of my brake drum. So I am going to just remove a little bit of the soil from the bottom to give me a little bit more wiggle room. This will also help break up the root system a little bit. It's in there nicely. Now, what a great way to reuse a brake drum. Again, a salvage yard or someplace that works on semis, brake systems. They may have these old brake drums just sitting around that you could pick up. This pot's not gonna tip over, it's not gonna blow away in the wind because again, it weighs 70 pounds. So I will need to use my dolly to get it to where I want it, but it's gonna stay in place. And then what I like about container gardening, even if it's a brake drum, is if I ever need to move it, I don't have to dig it up because it's in a pot, so I can just move it around. Now, this agave typically gets around 2 to 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. So this pot will kind of contain how wide it can get, but I think it's gonna live in here just fine. We'll see. Now, Aiden saw this as a welding project. I immediately saw it and thought, those make awesome planters. So it's all in how you look at things. And I did tell him that I was going to use his welding project as a planter. He was okay with that. And it had to be because I would have probably used it anyway. So it was more of a courtesy notification than an ask for permission. Now behind me there's two stacked on top of each other. I could have him weld the two together, or I could just set one on top of the other. Again, that's 140 pounds right there. So I doubt the top one would ever topple over. You'd really have to work hard to make that happen. So I can probably just use that as a double pot at any point. But for now, I'm going to move this one aside, and I think I'm going to take a single one and plant another version of agave in it. So let me get this ready and we'll pick up. All right, so I have my next brake drum ready. I went ahead and drilled a hole in my Home Depot top, and I have my rock kind of plug up that hole. I'm just gonna pull in some initial soil to hold that lid in place. Now you might be wondering, do these brake drums get hot? They do, but probably no different than a true terracotta pot or any kind of pot in this sun. It's going to get hot. Now, it remains to be seen if these get hotter than anything else and how these plants do. I think they're going to be okay, but we'll see. We will learn. So I'm going to go ahead and get this agave out of its temporary pots, I'll call it. think I'm gonna have to just remove a little bit of the dirt. This one has some little pups coming out. I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and I can plant these in little pots and they will grow. Well, that's the nice thing about these agaves is they do shoot out pups periodically, and it's a great way to grow a new plant. Now when these agaves bloom, and they all bloom, it's typically a sign of death, because when these plants bloom, that's when they are really putting on their final show, and they typically die after that. And removing a little of the extra soil on the bottom so I can have it fit nicely in my drum. Now that I did that, I need to raise it up a little bit more, so it's just trial and error sometimes. And I think it's going to look lovely in this pot. The contrast of the color, I think, is perfect. So let's get this one backfilled with some soil. All right, we have this agave situated. I think it looks lovely in this pot. Need to get it cleaned off a little bit when I water tonight. But all in, I think our semi-break drums have turned out to be very nice pots. And I look forward to see how these look in the yard. I'm gonna look for a spot to put these so that you can ultimately see where I put them and how they look. But I think the rusty metal will blend in quite nicely. Just a unique way to use or reuse some things that typically would have ended up in a landfill. So this is our finished products. Got a Moroccan mound, our 2 agaves, and of course the Moroccan mound was put in the terracotta pot. The agaves were put into the brake drums, and I think they're looking beautiful. Now let's do a traditional potting of a plant. So I think it was last weekend at Home Depot, maybe the weekend before, not for sure, but I picked up this big red because I really like the flower structure. These are perfect for hummingbirds. Hummingbirds love these. And I also picked up this white pot. I'm pretty sure it was last week if you watched that video. My thought is that I'm going to plant this right into this white pot. It gives it some nice contrast, and I think it's going to look beautiful in there. Now this pot already has a nice hole in the bottom. I've put a rock over it, so I'm just going to add in some soil, and I'm going to use regular potting soil for this one. Now I did upload a new Home Depot video from this morning, and when I was editing it, I noticed that I had talked about how I was going to pick up a Mexican fence post. First time I've seen those available at Home Depot, and of course I left the store without it, so now I have a good excuse to go back and pick it up. There was also a little cactus garden that had a really unique, almost looked like crested something. I'm not sure what it was. And And I kind of pointed that out, and I wish when I saw the video that I had picked that up. So I may pick that up too. Not that I need any more plants, but you know, we all have to have an addiction of something, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and get this removed out of this temporary pot. Now this was, again, $23 at Home Depot. I'm going to use this pot as my template so that once I get this pot filled up with dirt, I can just basically drop the plant right in. And I am feeling every bit of the 106 degrees. I'm slowly starting to lose my shade spot. So my shoulders are in the sun and they are quite toasty. Now, I've got the dirt in the pot. I'm just going to lift this out. And I'm just going to drop this in. And that's how that works. It just makes the process a whole lot easier now. And I'm going to backfill just a little bit. I think the dark green with this white pot and the plant kind of draping over just looks absolutely beautiful. Now the pot was a little pricey, I think, at Home Depot, as I recall. It was maybe $49, which is a little more than I would have liked to spend. As I recall, there wasn't a price tag on it, and I didn't know how much it was until we checked out. I would have probably bought it regardless, just because it was already in the universe that I wanted to buy it. You know how that goes. You get something in your head and you leave without it, and then you think about it. At least in my case, I always end up going back and buying it anyway, so a little pricey, but this pot will last many, many years. So I will get my money's worth. Hopefully this plant will last many, many years and the hummingbirds will come to enjoy it. But I think it looks absolutely beautiful in this pot. Now, the entire time I've been potting up this, I keep on looking back at those drums, and I have some really cool lantana that I bought the other day. And I'm thinking about using the two drums together as one pot. I don't think Aiden will mind. When he gets ready to do his welding project, I'm pretty sure we could pick up more of these where we got them from. So I am for sure either going to use one, maybe both. I'm going to get this out of the way, get resituated so that we can pick up where we leave off. And you'll get to see if I land on the one pot or the two pots. All right, so I have another drum. And I did feel a little guilty, so I asked Aiden if it was okay, and he was fine with it, of course. So I have drilled another hole into a Home Depot lid top. And I put my rock in place to keep all the dirt from pouring out. Now all this leftover dirt on the ground and stuff, this is going to be the very bottom of the pot. So I'm just going to sweep this up and throw it right in the bottom of the pot. It's not going to make a difference. As opposed to this soil and junk going to waste, it'll just serve as a good strainer for the bottom of the pot. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up. I am going to fill this up to the top with soil, and I am going to use both. We're going to put this one on top of this one. So I'm going to get this one filled up with soil first. We'll put this one on top, then we'll add more soil, and this is the pot that I'm going to put that cool lantana in, which you'll get to see here in just a second. All right, so I have my double break drum pot. And this is the Bandana Lemon Zest Lantana that I picked up the other day. What I really like about these is the coloring on these flowers. They're kind of yellow and white. So I think it's beautiful. And I think these will look absolutely beautiful in this pot, kind of centered amongst the three, because this lantana will grow outward and then kind of hang off the sides. Now, this is considered an annual, but here in Tucson, these tend to come back. A lot of times I'll cut everything back down to the root base and then they come back from the roots. So I think these will be fine if we ever have a really cold spell down into the 20s. I may just throw a moving blanket on top. But this lantana is not majorly expensive either, so if I had to replace it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. The one thing I'll say is that the bandana lemon zest lantana I had not seen before, so I'm pretty excited about it and anxious to see how it ultimately does in this brake drum pot. So I did go ahead and fill up the first level, the bottom level, with dirt. I've gone through a lot of dirt today, by the way. So I have my last bag of soil that I'm going to go ahead and dump in here, and then we will get these lantana planted. So one brake drum pretty much took a whole bag of soil. I think I've gone through 5 bags of soil today. Now I typically have some on hand, and this was my on hand, and now I'm out. So no more planting projects today. However, I do have that excuse to go back to Home Depot to pick up that Mexican fence post and that unique cactus garden plant. Now again, I am going to use these pots as my template so that ultimately I can just drop these lantana right into the hole that I create. So, you know, over the years, I've repurposed a lot of things. It would have never crossed my mind to use a semi brake drum. So thanks to Aiden for grabbing these. Thanks to one of our friends who helped us along the way. I gotta tell you, these things, Aiden says they're 70 pounds. I think they're more than 70 pounds. So these are not gonna go anywhere. So I have my 3 holes created, and it's just gonna be super easy to drop these in. That's it. Again, I'm just leaving about an inch from the top of the planter itself. Because the last thing you want is when you water the water just roll off the sides. You want it to kind of hang out inside the pot so that you can really give your plants a good watering. I've noticed even at the nursery sometimes, along Home Depot, you'll buy one of those pre-potted plants and they have it so packed with dirt that when you water it just flows off the side. And when you waste a lot of water too, it's really hard for that plant to get any of the moisture at all. Now, it shouldn't take too long for these lantana to start to fill in. I could have probably gotten away with 4. Typically I do everything in 3s. So, you know, there is kind of a gaping hole right here, so I might pick up a 4th, but for right now, 3 works. And that's it. So at least 5 bags of dirt, 5 pots. Looking pretty good. I'm going to move this over to the others and just give you a view of what we accomplished today. I think they're looking absolutely beautiful, and then I need to find out where we're going to put them. I'll show you that as well. All right. So there's our supersized brake drum pot on the far right-hand side, and the singles here on the left. So all in, I think it's been a productive day, reutilizing some things that would have ended up in the landfill, no doubt, or a recycling center maybe. I'm happy that I was able to recycle them into planters. Now I'm going to look for spots to put these. You know, real estate in this yard is a little bit tight, but I can get creative, so we'll see what I come up with, and I'll show you where they ended up. All right, so for right now, we have the Moroccan mound and my agave, one of my agaves, positioned right here. This is in the front left-hand side of the house. So I think it fits in nicely there. And again, if I get tired of it, or if I decide that I don't like it there, I can always move it. Of course, Aiden may cringe because he helped me move these very heavy brake drums into place, but they are movable. And then moving right along, I'll give you an update on my gigantic pots at the end of the driveway. For those of you that have been following, we replaced these beginning of the year with some much larger pots, and they're filled with vinca, some sweet potato vine, some spikes, and you can see some beautiful sunflowers. And then there's some little pots of vinca and butterfly bush in the front. This one is pretty much an exact duplicate, so on either side of the driveway. And I'll give you a little secret if you didn't figure it out already. You have to let me know in comments if you figured it out already what the secret is. But these sunflowers are not real. So I think they're pretty real looking. And they were a nice ad. I just put these in there about a week ago. I do come out here at nighttime and I just kind of rearrange them a little bit so that they look a little bit different each day. And I'll tell you, I have had a couple people stand here and look, and then I can watch from my office window. They will actually touch them to see if they're real or not. So, and a couple folks have asked me, are they real? So if I'm having to be asked and people really don't know, that means they look pretty realistic. My purple pot is looking pretty good with my Costco hand-blown glass stakes. So I'm happy with how it turned out. I did pick up a new piece of yard art the other day. This is an actual javelina, and it's either scratching itself behind its ear or maybe it's relieving itself. I'm not sure. But this is some new metal art. If you're new to this channel, that is a gigantic rattlesnake. It just kind of slithers around the yard. There's its rattle, which is pretty cool. There's my pot of lantana and vinca. And I need to get out here because the vinca has seeded, and I have little baby vincas coming up. This is where we nestled another one of the brake drum pots with some agave. So it will sit here for at least now. The fountain that Aiden welded is still looking absolutely amazing in my opinion. The birds love this. There's normally 5 or 6 birds at any given time sitting on top of it, taking a bath and drinking. The hummingbirds love it as well. And then my double-tiered brake drum pot is positioned over here in the corner of the yard. I'm not for sure that it'll stay there. Aiden will not be happy to hear that because this one was about 150 pounds to move. I did solicit his help, but I'm anxious to see how this lantana does. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So the yard's coming along. This yard will go through an absolute transition as we get closer to Halloween. We go all out for Halloween, so I'll be sure to keep you updated with that. But I think things are looking pretty good. This is a fountain that we added just in the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. Again, the birds love this one just as much. So I think the front yard is coming along. That big old pot right there, Vinca, is doing amazing. So all in, I'm pretty happy with how the yard is turning out. Of course, it's always going through a little transition, but all in, I think it's looking pretty good. Let me know what you think in comments. I still have to place my big red. Need to look for a spot for it, but I'll find a spot. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I think it's been a productive day despite the 106-degree temperature. I think it might even be a little bit hotter than that, especially on the driveway where it's reflecting heat. Boy, I'll tell you, I will take heat over cold any day, but I don't know that I wanted 106, 107 degrees. I'd be happy in the 90s. And actually, I do kind of like wearing hoodies now and then, so, you know, some cool nights would be nice. Those are right around the corner, so I'll hold out. But gosh, it has been a hot summer, and I'm looking forward to a change. At any rate, again, if you're new to this channel, welcome you to subscribe. It really helps out my small channel. Drop down those comments and suggestions. I always review those and respond accordingly. And I'm going to call it a day, at least from a video perspective. I'm going to go in and cool off a little bit, have a nice gigantic glass of iced tea. And then I see some things that need to be watered, so watering is in my future. But with that, you guys, thanks for joining again. Until next time.